We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Men's Track and Field Through the Decades. Tonight we've got a great group. We've got the decade of the 1980s, joining head coach Kevin Donner, myself, Todd Newcomb, and one of our current student athletes who will jump on in just a moment. I want to thank Geisinger for sponsoring tonight's event. Geisinger has done a great job in the local community throughout the pandemic, and they do a great job with our student athletes on a day in and day out basis here at Bucknell. As I mentioned, we have the decade of the 80s. We've got some great alums. I'm going to introduce them, and then I'll turn it over to Coach Donner, and we'll have some fun tonight. Our first alum from the class of 1984 is Mike Garrity. Mike was a four-year letter winner. Indoors, he was the ECC champion as part of the DMR in 1983 and was a two-time qualifier for the NCAA championships, first in the 600 in 1982 and then in the 500 in 1984. He holds a school and Gerhard Fieldhouse record in the 500. He's ranked 5th in the 800 and 9th in the 400. Outdoors, he was a 6-time ECC champion, including 3 times in the 400 and twice as part of the 4x100 relay. He was all East in the 400 in 1982, and on the outdoor all-time top 10 list, he ranks 2nd in the 800, 3rd in the 400, and 4th as part of both the 4x800 and DMR relays. He's 10th also as part of the 4x4 relay. He was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2002. Our next guest from the class of 1985 is Chip Durkin. He also has 2 daughters that have been at Bucknell. One's a junior now, and one graduated in 2017. Chip was a 4-year letter winner in the program. He was an ECC outdoor champion in 1984 as part of the 4x100 relay. Our next guest from the class of 1985 is Chalky Spadafor. He was a 4-year letter winner. Indoors, he was the ECC champion in the long jump and as part of the DMR in 1984. He still ranks 9th on the 55-meter high hurdles all-time top 10 list indoors. Outdoors, he was a 3-time ECC champion, including twice in the long jump and once as a member of the 4x100 relay. He set the school record in the outdoor long jump and currently ranks 5th on the all-time top 10 list in that category. He was chosen as the ECC Scholar Athlete of the Year for outdoor track and field in 1985. And our last guest from the class of 1988 is Ray Wood. Ray was a 3-year letter winner for the program. Indoors, he was a 2-time East Coast Conference champion in the 440. He was also All East in 1988 as a member of the DMR relay unit. So, Coach, we've got a great group of alums. Let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. First of all, like I said, I just got back from the NCAA cross country championships literally about an hour and a half ago. And yeah, the university's not letting me come back on campus for a few days. I got a quarantine. So here I am at home, although it looks like I'm at the track right now, but I am really home. I really appreciate you guys coming out to this. This has been a lot of fun. We did the woman a couple of weeks ago. We did cross country back in the first semester, and now we could go to some track and field of the decade. So I'm going to go to each of you and ask you, just tell us what you've been doing since graduation. Tell us about your family, your job, and things like that. We'll start with Mike.
Great. That's a lot to cover for however many years now it's been, but I've since graduation, I went to law school. I've been a lawyer now for 30 plus years, and that's it. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm doing to the end. So there's no turning back. I have 4 kids, 2 of them married. I have 1 grandchild, 1 on the way, another grandchild on the way. My youngest son just graduated from University of Richmond, so I have no more college payments. And I live, as I have for pretty much the entirety of my life, in Bergen County, Franklin Lakes, not far from, as I said earlier, my alma mater, Don Bosco Prep. And that's That's it in a nutshell. And I don't run anymore.
I don't
Well, I
much
do from
either.
post to pillar, but that's about it.
All right. And Chip, tell us what you've been doing and your family and jobs and things like that.
Yeah, so I live in Bel Air, Maryland. It's northeast of Baltimore. I moved here after graduation to take a job with Westinghouse. Westinghouse was bought by Northrop Grumman about a year later, and I spent 15 years at Northrop designing radars for the F-16 and AWACS, other programs. At that time, I married my Bucknell classmate, Jolene. She was in my double E class as well. We have 3 kids. As Todd mentioned, 2 are Bucknell in the Bucknell family. 1 graduated in 2017, and 1 is there now as a junior. And my son went off to UVA, University of Virginia, and we were fine with that because they're also blue and orange. So I didn't have to change my wardrobe at all.
That's where we're going Saturday for a meet.
Very good. And then in 2000, I changed jobs, took a job with a California-based company, and I still live in Maryland, but my territory is from Virginia up through Canada, and I cover this whole Northeast region. So, and that's about it.
All right, great. And Chuck, tell us what you've been doing all this time.
So when I finished at Bucknell, I went to WVU for dental school at West Virginia University and finished there in '89, and then went on to specialize in orthodontics at St. Louis University and finished there in '91, and actually came back home, and my dad was an orthodontist, so I started practice with him and was fortunate enough to we worked together until about 2000 when he retired. That's about when I got married. I have 1 son who's 13 now, and he's in 7th grade. I, have a practice. My main practice is actually right across the river in Ohio, in a town called St. Clairsville, Ohio. And I have a satellite in the town that I live in, which is Wheeling. I don't run anymore. I actually blew out an Achilles about, I think it was 2002, or actually it was 2000. So I don't run anymore at all. Was coaching hockey a little bit for my son's teams, and even that I'm kind of finished with. And so, yeah, just kind of doing our thing. I haven't been to Bucknell since probably the mid to late 80s. But yeah, I try to, read and keep in touch with things, but yeah, we're good.
Got to get you back soon.
Yeah.
All right. And Ray, tell us what you've been doing since graduation, job, family, things like that.
A little bit along the same lines. Grad school at Carnegie Mellon, probably the only liberal arts guy in that business program. Found a woman who actually tolerated me and is still with me 30 years later. 4 kids. There's probably a lot of people disappointed I procreated, but I did. Been in telecom with different roles, mostly so with AT&T to start with. And now I'm with a company down in Bridgewater, New Jersey. It's kind of a spin-off of the old AT&T. So, and I don't run pretty much anymore since last summer. Not saying I really ran fast, but I got something old going on in my knee, so I might be retired from it as well. So,
no problem there. So, all right, we're gonna go back to Mike Garrity here. Take us back to the beginning of how you chose Bucknell and how you became a member of the track and field team.
So, yeah, that's a good question. So I was a senior in high school at Don Bosco Prep, and I was being fairly highly recruited, and I at one point I got somehow interested in Bucknell. Coach Goulden, Art Goulden came up to Don Bosco to see me, and he talked me into coming out to Bucknell with my mother. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but this was a well-designed plan by Coach Goulden. And so I traveled out there with my mom, and at the time, Art was his wife Linda was fairly young. She was younger than he was, and so she immediately took my mother aside. Art took me some other direction, and that was it. My mother bought it hook, line, and sinker, and I don't know. So, but I didn't give in that easily, and I was debating between Bucknell and Georgetown, and of course, it came down to the very last day, and Mike DeBragio, who I think many of you know, called me, and he's like, "Mike, I just wanted to find out what your decision was." And I, of course, was embarrassed to say that I hadn't mailed anything in yet, but I told him I'm coming to Bucknell, and that was it. So that's how I got there, and I never regretted the decision.
That's a great story there. And Chip, tell us how you ended up at Bucknell and the track and field program.
Yeah, so I thought I was going to Penn State. I was one of 8 kids and the first to go to college in my family. And I had been accepted at Penn State my junior year in high school for academics. And it seemed like the logical choice. It was financially the choice. And then senior year, after playing football and track, I had very good seasons, and it started to open up some doors. And Carnegie Mellon would actually offer me a football scholarship, and I had no plans at all to play football. It was just too demanding. And I had a friend who recommended Bucknell, and honestly, I hadn't even considered it. And so I contacted and heard from Coach Goulden, and he just happened to be that weekend at Pitt at a indoor meet at Pitt. So it was really fate, and I just went down and spoke to him, and we had a great conversation, and then they would get me some money to attend the school and history.
Wow. And Chuck?
Yeah, so my high school had Terry Depew was at my high school, whose brother was the baseball coach at Bucknell for years and years. And
Gene, yeah.
Yeah, Gene. And Terry and Terry's wife are both Bucknell grads. So I had a good junior year, and the headmaster was a Dickinson grad. And so he was more of a football person than a track person. Like Chip, I had no interest in playing football in college. So that ended pretty quick. And Mike Baker was the field events coach. And so he started getting a hold of me, and, it was just, I came up for a visit, and I stayed with a high jumper and a pole vaulter. And that's when I met Ted Lewis that night, and had a great time for the stay. Yeah, that's probably what did it. Just felt very comfortable. The area was a small town like I grew up in. I just knew it was right. It was just a very easy, I talk to kids all the time as an orthodontist, and especially when they're trying to make a decision going to college, and they have a lot of stress over it. And the first thing I tell them is, like, there's not a wrong decision. It's they're all good decisions wherever you go. Just try to find out where you feel like you're at home. And that's what it was. So that's how it happened.
So you think it was the overnight visit that did it?
It was kind of funny, and I you can edit this if you would like, but I remember waking up in the, they had bunk beds, and I'm in the bottom bunk bed, and the pole vaulter was on the top, and the next thing I know, there was streaming vomit coming out of the top bunk. So yeah, it was a rough night, but It was a lot of fun. You know, neither one of them basically competed after their sophomore years, I think. Bill Miller was the high jumper, and I can't remember the pole vaulter's name. Scott, man, I just can't, it's been too long. But, you know, Bill was from Pittsburgh, which is fairly close to me. They were happy there. You know, it was a good fit, and especially with the field events coach, Coach Baker. Yeah, it was good. It was all good.
All right, excellent. And Ray, tell us your story, how you ended up at Bucknell and on the track and field team.
Yeah, so sorry, the Chalky teed this up. But, no raining vomit on me, so that was good. I'm like Chalky. I got to sleep on the floor, as I recall. It was George Cotton and Scott Piers. The other interesting thing about that particular visit was I've always been a jackass. I always will be a jackass, and I forget what Scott. I think George was introducing me to him, and I made a comment to Scott that I can still remember like it was yesterday, and I think maybe that impressed me that Bucknell might be for me because he didn't punch me, which actually is a common thread in my life at Bucknell. It's amazing no one did, or people didn't punch me more often. But regardless, so I stumbled upon Bucknell. Didn't really, I kind of was maybe a little bit like Chip in that I was an all right athlete, and then started doing better my senior year. Didn't really know track was going to be part of it. And the dominoes just fell into a row. The recruiting trip helped, not the least of which were the beers at DU, which probably doesn't happen anymore on recruiting trips, but it was the 80s. So it just fell into place.
I hope it doesn't, but I don't know. It won't hurt me, I guess. I don't know. All right, very, very good. All right, we're going to go back to Mike here, and tell us your most memorable experience as a member of the track and field team. What sticks out the most?
So I would say two things. One is not a particular experience, but I went to a lot of meets. I went to a lot of meets on my own or just with a couple of other people. But at the end of the day, the things that were most memorable to me were the conference meets that we had. And Chalky and Chip were there. And you know what, no matter what, like for me that I did individually, I don't remember that. I remember the trips to the conference meet, the weekend. We always competed well. We performed well. We usually won, by the way. And that's what I remember. I remember because it didn't matter if you were Bill Rife Snyder and I could run the list. I mean, we had a very, very talented bunch of guys in the 80s. And that's not boasting. I mean, and two of them are here with us. Ray was a little later, but at least when I was there. And that's what I remember. That was fun. That was what the season was about, because even the guys who didn't place, they competed, they participated, they felt part of the team. And it was, I think it was the best thing about every season, indoors and outdoors. So that's my general thing. One quick story I'll tell is, because it sticks with me all the time. I was a freshman and I ran the IC4As, and I'm running the 400 meters, and I'm in a very challenging heat. There was, I know one name I'll never forget, a guy named Chip Jenkins, who made the Olympic team that year from Villanova. And I was, scooting in my pants. I mean, I was very nervous, and I didn't run well. I just didn't run well. I didn't even run as well as I could have, which wouldn't have been probably not good enough to get to the next round. But I'm walking around the warm-up field by myself, and Art Goulden came up to me and he said, you did fine. He said, next year, he goes, I guarantee you'll be in the finals. And, of course I said, well, yeah, that's great. He's trying to make me feel good, right? But, sure enough, it happened. The next year I was in the finals, and I never forget that because he, and I've done this with my kids and as well as other kids that I've, come across over the years. He just recognized something that I wasn't seeing, but confidence-wise, it helped me tremendously. So anyway, that's my stories.
What event was that, Mike?
It was the 400 meters both years.
Okay.
So my sophomore year, I placed, I don't know, fourth, I think, at the IC4As. And, that's, that was very nice. I mean, and it was, as I said, I never forget that because, I just thought it was a big joke. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to ever make the finals at this place. But, things change and a lot of to running, at least for me anyway, it was about confidence. You do the work, you train, but if you don't have confidence, forget it. You're going nowhere. And so you have to have confidence. And that's something that's helped me through my entire adult life. I'm a lawyer. I've been a trial lawyer for my entire professional career, and confidence is important. Competitiveness is important. So these are things that I've carried through over the years. So that's why I remember that more distinctly than other things.
All right, good. Well, it looks like Brett is here. Brett is one of our middle distance guys. He's an 800-meter runner, and I'm guessing he just got out of practice here, and so he's going to join us and be a part of this talk. So,
hello, hi there. I sincerely apologize about a miscommunication. I sincerely apologize, but hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well and happy to be here. Happy to be joining you guys.
All right. Let's go to Chip now. Chip, what was your most memorable experience at Bucknell and why?
I have to say that Mike hit the nail on the head. I thought about the conference championships too, and track is such an individual sport, but the real fun came when we could run on these relay teams and surprise people. We would go there, and I don't think we'd ever be the favorite. And our Coach Golden would put together a team that trained well. Our handoffs were solid, and we would end up winning. And it would just be for me that was wonderful because I wasn't winning a lot like these other guys individually. So my only chance of winning something was being part of this relay team. So whether Penn relays, the Colonial relays in Williamsburg, Chalky, we had a blast down there. I just think those were very positive experiences. I remember one negative experience though that we ran at Delaware State in that time. I mean, it had to be 30 degrees out.
Yeah.
I got into the blocks and took my winter coat off and tossed it behind me and ran a terrible race, 100 meters. And I stopped. I turned around and ran back to get my jacket on. And Coach Golden said, I think you were faster running back to get your jacket on. So it's like, it was just so cold. I still remember that to this day and don't go anywhere near that school.
Wow, that's good. So, all right, Chuck, what's your most memorable experience?
Yeah, I just think the closeness of the teammates, especially with Michael and what Chip and I were roommates all 4 years. Michael's class with Bill Snyder and about 10 other distance guys, a few field events guys. These are the people, we started practice the first or second day of school, and these are the people that we dealt with day in, day out. We almost had every single meal together. We would travel to meets together. You know, I think when you remember back, I was never as close to a group of people and like that till I was in my ortho residency. And you know, it's the same thing. We were together 24/7. So I would say that's the most memorable part of what went on. And to watch, you know, to watch Michael Garrity run was exceptional. I mean, he was just one of the best competitors I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Consistently just a badass out there. Yeah, I mean, he was one of my favorites to watch. And then Ray coming up too. I mean, you could see it as his freshman year. It's just like, man, he's gonna do really well as time goes. So it's pretty cool to see that and watch everybody develop as the years go on. So it was a lot of fun. We were tight. We ate almost every meal together. We all lived together, and that's who we hung out with. It was amazing. That's the greatest part of what we did.
Great. And Ray, your most memorable experience?
So let me go in a slightly different direction for a second. Thank you, Chalky, by the way. I'm not sure freshman year how I made it through, but thank you. I'm going to agree with the conference stories, but my take on it is there's a bad 80s metal band called Cinderella who had a song called "You Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone." Feel free to YouTube it. But we were used to winning my freshman year from the tradition of the guys who came before me, the conference titles. But we actually had to bust our ass indoors sophomore year to just tie Ryder for the indoor conference. And then we got our doors blown out outdoors. So the most memorable thing to me was conference really became important to me in that junior year. So that would have been 86, 87, because we were able to take it back. And it was pretty electric, actually. Everybody was just rooting on everybody, and it was quite an experience. So I think that's what I remember probably most is just taking back what was ours.
All right, great. And Brett, your most memorable experience so far?
So far, that's a great question, Coach. You know,
besides being sent home last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, with everything that's been going on the past year, so it's been a while since, you know, I know some of you know, everyone's spoken on is just that camaraderie with the team and being able to cherish it while I'm still here. And it's hard to believe I'm already, you know, more than halfway done my college career. So I really think for me that first Patriot League meet I was ever at, you know, you hear all about from the upperclassmen, you know, the competitiveness of a conference meet. You know, for us, the Patriot League now, I know that's not always been the case, but you know, hearing all the stories about Army and Navy and then getting kind of manifest that and see that in person. And something I've really learned now that I've gotten older is just not being afraid. And I think, I forget who said it, but just taking back what belongs to Bucknell. And I think kind of really it's not a distinct memory, but just spending the last couple of years really trying to instill that culture of feeling like Bucknell belongs to the top, and making sure that's kind of felt by everyone from top to bottom, from senior to freshman, from distance runner to thrower. So that's been really kind of my favorite part about the team so far is not anything individual, but really just the culture that we're trying to build and that has been built by every generation before us. So that's definitely my favorite part of the program.
Right. Before I finish my questions, why don't you ask your questions there, Brett?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously everyone in this call has much more experience than I, both in and out of Bucknell and in the real world. So my first question is really just someone that I'm only a junior. I still have luckily over a year left of opportunities. And I know it's been touched on about what some of the favorite memories for you guys were, but from an importance standpoint, both from an individual and team standpoint, what was one thing that you guys all remember that was really crucial to the success of the program, from anything from on to off the track. And how do you feel that those things have carried over still in your life today?
Maybe we'll have to answer that first.
Who's up?
Let's go with Mike.
There we go. That's a tough question because there's a lot of things that come to mind. But, I think I'm trying to think of something that would apply to everybody who was in the program when I was there. And of course, Chalky and Chip, were there too. But, I think the culture at the time was that there was a lot of discipline that was instilled. Some of us were more disciplined than others, and I'm not going to say where I fell, but whether it sunk in or not at the time, in retrospect, I think the discipline of being part of the team, and of course preparing, training, performing, all of that went into it. But having respect for the other guys that you were working out with every day and showing up to practice, everybody knew that they had to perform on the weekend. And I feel like that was a discipline that, at least for me, carried me. And I won't claim to be the most disciplined person, but whatever discipline I do have, I take it from those roots. And I think that was important, at least for me. So.
Thank you.
Why don't we go with Chip?
Yeah, so I'd have to agree with Mike that one thing that Coach Golden demanded was discipline, and he would post our workouts up inside the field house each day, and he often went off with other folks and would let the sprinters and jumpers. He would just say, "Here's your workout, and I trust that you're going to do it." And we knew if we didn't do it, he would see it in our performances later on in the week. So, that, and now as a career, I work from home, and I could certainly just goof off all day, but I still have that discipline feeling like someone's watching out, and I carry that the work ethic into everyday life now. So I have to thank Coach Golden for. He was hard on us at the time. He certainly wouldn't say he was our friend, but he certainly worked us. We built that up inside of us, and I've kept that with me all these years.
That's interesting. It's funny how technology, with technology now, we all have running logs that we're updating daily, and so it's you can still see who where everyone falls in the discipline spectrum, but it's harder to get away with some of that stuff depending on who you are. So that's funny that I can tell that there's definitely a different level of accountability from one generation to another. So that's interesting to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, we wouldn't like logs. I'll tell you that right now.
I love logs.
Very
different logs.
Yeah, Coach Donner's a big fan. I don't know. You'd probably get mixed responses from others, but yeah, thank you.
Oh, we go with Chuck.
Okay, so I don't know. I think really when we would go to meets, especially conference meets, we expected to win. Like Ray kind of said, it was ours. And in order to do that, you have to prepare a certain way. And that's probably what I learned most at Bucknell. It's just you're relentless. You're just to the point where you've done the work, and whether you're having a great day or not such a great day, you have the confidence to perform at a top level to do what you need to do. For me, that carried through dental school and through orthodontics. And, you know, I don't know if I'm as disciplined today about, you know, doing those types of things, but, you know, I'm always trying to be prepared for what happens on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's probably it.
All right. And Ray.
Yeah, you know, until you guys started talking, I don't know if discipline would have been on my top 5 list, but I kind of find it tough to disagree with you. Yeah, it was a regimen. I don't know if I really noticed it as much as the time. Don't get me wrong. There were certain parts of the regimen that I chafed under, but yeah, it was good from the perspective of sometimes seeing what structure can do is a good thing. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't have gone in that direction before this part of the conversation started, though.
While you're still there, Ray, tell us the athlete that you most admired on the team and why.
Yeah, so if you can't tell, I have a little bit of a different type of personality. So admiration, I'll tell you, I'll go in a little bit of a different direction for the 4th time today. I looked back at those, especially my freshman year with some of these guys, and not just because Chalky and Chip are on. I think the only time I met Mike, by the way, this seems to be a common theme for me, is in a beer tent at one of the graduation parties. But
yeah, kudos there.
I think when I look back, I'm kind of amazed at people like Chip, Chalky. I think, you know, who I really think of, and I think he's a coach there now, Jim Reed. I think Eric Drew. I think of the people who kind of didn't really lecture me, tried to say, not so many words, hey kid, maybe that wasn't a good idea to do things that way, or maybe you should try this approach instead. And mostly put up with me rather than they could have been very punishing. So I respect and appreciate that over the years as time has gone by. I was not an easy guy to get along with. I'll just put it that way.
All right. And Chuck, the athlete that you most admire, or the teammate that you most admired, and why?
Oh yeah, I think like Ray, you look at the kid, the athletes ahead of you, and you know, definitely Mike was a year ahead of us, and so was Bill Snyder. And boy, to watch those two was exciting. And I think for me, you just learned so much on how to compete and how to get ready, and you know, just having a simple conversation with Mike about, you know, running the 400, or you know, what you're trying to do in certain situations, extremely helpful. And you know, it was always like that. It was always the upperclassmen not really competing with the freshmen or the sophomores, but you know, drawing them into the program. And I mean, you know, in that situation, you can see the talent that's going to develop. And it was always a situation where the upperclassmen always opened their arms to the underclassmen. So that was a great situation for us, I think.
Right. And Mike, who'd you admire?
So again, of course, I can't make a decision, but I'm going to give you 2 people. Both happen to be roommates, by the way. Bill Rife Snyder was my roommate for 4 years. And that posed a lot of challenges in and of itself. But I have to say, Bill was the most talented athlete that I saw at Bucknell, and for that matter, even beyond Bucknell. And he never ceased to amaze me with his athletic ability, and some of his other social abilities too, that we shared together. So I say that because yeah, he was my roommate, and so I'm a little biased, but the guy was really high caliber. And Art Goulden put us together as freshmen, and we stayed married for 4 years. So that's more than a lot of people can say. The other guy is a guy named Dave Grady, known as Rosie to the alumni. And Dave, he was not cracking the top 7 in cross country was a tough thing back in the 80s. Even cracking the top 7 in the JV was tough. And Rosie, he was a guy. I admired him. I can see myself admiring him when I was there. It was easier for me to go to practice. I'd get results on the weekend, and usually good things. But it wasn't that way for everybody. And Dave came to practice every day, and he's not the only guy. There was other guys like this too. I pick on him because, of course, he was one of my roommates one year, and but came to practice every day. Maybe didn't even compete, or if did, not highly in a meet. It didn't stop them. And I don't know, I look back and I just have a high degree of respect for those guys. And I think that Dave, as others, the team would not have been the same without them. So the contribution they were making was invaluable. And so, those are the people that I could go on. I mean, I just, one year I lived with Rife, Snyder, and Mark Hume, and Dave White, and myself. We ended up having 4 Hall of Famers in the one place. And, I look back now, it's 35 plus years, and for that to happen is amazing. We had very talented people, and, here, Chalky, Chip, Ray, I mean, just very, very talented. And we probably didn't realize at the time how many talented people we had around us. And but now looking back, and I mean, hell, if Chalky's still on the top 10 list, I mean, he must have been pretty good. So, anyway, I've said
There only been 9 other hurdlers there, so
Well, at least for me, like I tried the old 440 yards for a while. Maybe we could do that, or they don't run the 600 anymore, or whatever.
All right, and Chip, tell us who you admire the most.
Yeah, I have to agree with these guys. I know freshman year, Chalky and I, walking onto the field house, and there were some seniors, I won't name names, but they weren't the most welcoming teammates. And then along comes Mike and Bill, and regardless of our athletic abilities, they just are like, okay, you guys are on the team, we're going to take care of you. And Chalky and I roomed together all 4 years as well, but we always looked up to Mike and Bill as the leaders of the team. So I would have to definitely thank them for taking us under their wing all those years.
All
That
right.
means a lot. That means a lot to me, and I know it would to Bill as well. So thank you.
And we'll let our student athlete ask his next question.
Yeah, so before I get into my next question, I just want to say thank you guys for those responses. It's kind of interesting hearing a lot of parallels in the way, you guys describe some of your former teammates, the way, hearing some of you guys talk and give your responses. I can actually picture, which one of my teammates, I would picture saying that about. Albeit I don't think there's 4 roommates 4 Hall of Famers in my mod as of right now, but other than that, I did resonate with a lot of those comments. So that was really interesting to hear that some of those same dynamics still exist. So my next question,
Fred, who'd you admire?
Who did I admire? Probably Scott. Scott Galizio, you won't see him on the records, but he's in probably every middle distance top 10. He ran 150. He ran, 48. He was a Patriot League, he was on the podium probably every time, he raced as an upperclassman. So he was a senior when I was a freshman. And same thing, he really, there were definitely seniors that had a superiority complex to them. And he had no issue kind of welcoming me. I told people I wanted to be on the 4x8 at Patriot Leagues my freshman year, and I got a lot of laughs for how deep the middle distance group was. And, he kind of, I just remember he shrugged his shoulders and he said, well, you're going to have to work your ass off for it, but I have no doubt in my mind you can. So I just think there, having a good balance of, pushing me, but also welcoming me. I still talk to he graduated 2 years ago. We still keep in touch on a weekly, if not daily basis. So there's been plenty of other guys that have been super motivational and inspirational for me, but I think Scott Galizio is definitely the one that jumps out, class of 2015 now. That's, I could go on and on about, great leaders we've had in the team so far. But, it was interesting hearing, I think it was Ray talk about, running into, Mike in a graduation tent, or Chalky talking about, how discipline has helped him through dental school and his post-collegiate years. So now that you guys have spent more time outside of college than in college, it's been really interesting to hear you guys talk about, like the tight-knit community that still exists. So I'd love to kind of hear more about how you guys have kind of gone about with your networking, community building skills in your career, and how Bucknell and Bucknell Track and Field has kind of shaped that in your, in your careers and your lives.
Pick one.
Mike, you mind starting?
Okay. Are you looking for a job, by the way? But anyway, all right. So, I mean, I would just say, look, putting aside Bucknell, of course, you get outside of Bucknell, it's competitive out there. I don't care what field you're in, engineering, orthodontics, whatever else you're doing. So, you got to think about that when you're in school. And I think it's gotten only more highly competitive over the years. The one thing I think you'll find, whether you're a lawyer, doctor, engineer, whatever, networking is important. It's important because you get things a lot of times on merit, but also a lot of times based on who you know. And that doesn't mean that it's somehow not right. No, that is right. People help you do things. They help you get clients. They give you advice. They do whatever else. And so networking is important, and that's important whether it's, in all fields, friends, family, acquaintances. But to tie that back to Bucknell, I would say that, look, you could, Brett, call me up out of the blue, and I don't know you from Adam. And I'll be candid, I'm not following Bucknell cross country and track as closely as I probably would like to, although I do appreciate Coach Donner sending out the info he does, because I've gotten more engaged. I have to tell you that. But you know what, Brett, if you reached out for me, you know what? You tell me you're on the Bucknell track and cross country team. That's it. That's it. I'm going to help you if I have a way to help you. And if I don't have a way, I'll find somebody who does have a way. And so, you should remember that. And I think, hopefully other people on the team would too, because, and likewise, if I called Chip today and I needed something, I haven't talked to him in 30 plus years, but you know what? He's going to help me out if he can. I know that. How do I know that? I know that because we were on the team together. And that's what this team is about. Really is. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Both for the advice standpoint and the reaching out standpoint. So thank you again. Chip, do you mind?
How come I seem to always have to follow Mike? He's so eloquent with his answers.
Well, that's why I'm a lawyer, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just a geeky engineer. Yeah, he's exactly right that networking is who is very important. You can be the most talented. In my case, I'm surrounded by engineers that are super smart, but if they can't communicate with their fellow worker, then they're not as valuable to the team as the average guy with average skills. So you definitely keep your lines of communication open, eye contact with people, and just don't burn any bridges, because one day you're friends, and then next day you're enemies. But what's the adage? You keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, right? Because you just never know when you're going to reach out to someone and say, hey, I need some help here. I'm looking for a new position. What can you do? So yeah, just very important to and with social media these days, you guys have a huge advantage. We haven't been able to keep in touch with each other because we didn't have the LinkedIn's and Facebooks and Instagrams, now that you do. So take advantage of that stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, we actually, I believe it was a couple weeks ago earlier this semester, we had a Bucknell alumni career night where we had about 20, 30 alumni join the team for a Zoom call, and breakout rooms are based off of major interest and everything. And it was really cool because I got to talk to a woman graduate of 2001, works for Fidelity in Boston now, and I got to pick her brain, and it was really cool how both you guys have both talked about now that just that interconnection of the program of other than both being Bucknell track and field athletes. I would have had no relation to this individual, and then I had the great chance to kind of have someone at a high level place whose brain I got to pick in a field I'm interested in. So it's really cool. So thank you. Chalky, would you like to go?
Yeah. So, networking as a specialist is like crucial to what I do, because I need referrals from my, general dentist friends constantly, because, once I'm finished, it's done. I always have to replace patients. So, yeah, networking is important, and it's got to be earnest. It's when you're in a place for a long time, the people you deal with realize what you can do and what your skills are, and to be not earnest about that is a really tough thing that will come back to haunt you. But I think, like Chip said, you don't burn bridges, even if you don't agree with somebody. You just kind of take it in stride and try to see maybe their point of view. You're always trying to figure out like how to do something better, or how to provide a service better, or, communicate better. Communication I would say, is the key. You have to be able to talk to lots of different types of people comfortably. If they don't feel you're approachable, or they feel you're, superior, that's not a good thing. That's not what you want to be. You want to be the person who doesn't have all the answers, but are willing to listen and give your expertise or your, knowledge to them. But like Bill said, being on the track team, if there was ever a call that came to me from somebody who was on the team, I would sure never, turn that down. I would do whatever I could to help. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Ray, I'm excited to hear your answer.
Yeah. And unlike Chip, who's the engineering geek, I'm just a geek. I'm really uncomfortable on this one because it's something I just don't do well. I would take all the advice the other guys gave. If I had to add anything, don't be afraid to ask for help. I've had a lot of people help me in my life. And the flip side of that is it's just the right thing to do. If someone reaches out to you for help, do what you can. I I don't, again, I'm not in a position of being an expert on networking, so I'll leave it at that.
That's perfect. Thank you.
You want to ask me about 80s heavy metal? I might be able to help, but
I'll save that for another time. Thank you.
And speaking of asking for help, guys, this is my 20th year as a head track and field and cross country coach at Bucknell. And from the outside looking in, why don't you guys give me a little bit of advice on coaching here? So we'll start with Mike. What kind of advice you going to give me here? And I've gotten some good advice, and I've actually used some stuff that me.
Yeah, you don't need any advice. Just, but I think, look, the only thing I could say, it's going to be totally unrelated to track because, I have to think long and hard about what the track even looks like. But I think I think you do this, coach. But the one thing I would say about somebody in your position is, the impact that you make on some people, you have no idea. And even after your 20 years at Bucknell and your many other years at other places, you still don't appreciate it. But you can ask any one of these guys, and it could be whether it's a coach from Bucknell. I know we had Coach Goulden, or other coaches in our lives. And by the way, I didn't see eye to eye with Coach Goulden. No, and but we certainly had a strong accommodation at times. But looking back, he had such an impact on me. Which I'd probably be hesitant to concede to him now, but he's not here, so I will. And so I've been a youth coach in many sports for my kids and other kids. And I always took that with me. I carried that with me that, you know what, you got to be on your game every day because whatever happens, that kid you're dealing with, whether he's 7 years old, 15, high school or college, you're making an impact on them. And hopefully that'll be a good impact. And, someday there'll be guys on this screen 3 or 4 decades from now, and they'll be talking about you, Kevin. And that's what you want. So that would be my advice to you.
All right, thanks. And Chip, give me some advice here.
Yeah, so, I thought one thing that, we've been talking about Coach Golden and how great a coach he was and all, but one thing he didn't do well was he didn't pay much attention to the sprinters. And, we're all sprinters in this call, right? He I wouldn't say he ignored us, but he certainly favored, and for good reason, the cross country guys, the distance guys were fabulous when we were there. So, but I think, just keeping the team, the unity intact by, mixing it up a little bit. Like once in a while, he would throw us into a distance medley relay. And we love that, right? We get to be able to run with Brian Harshman and some of the other guys. And I just think that was, that kind of stuff promoted such, integration with the team that was, I would say, was lacking at the time. So yeah, I would just say, don't forget about the sprinters. We work hard too.
Oh, I know. I'm a big believer in running a balanced team. And, Brett will attest, we like to use the word one umbrella when we talk about our sprinters, our hurdlers, jumpers, throwers, mid distance, long distance, pole vault, multi. That's a big part of what I try to do.
Great.
Ray, some advice?
yeah, I'm uncomfortable on this too because you've done it for so long. I will echo Mike's comments. It's a tough job. I've really begun to appreciate my time with Coach Goulden. At times, I drove him crazy for bad reasons, but at times he drove me crazy for bad reasons. But that's a tough job. The one thing I've really over the years thought about, though, back from that, and again, I feel kind of weird giving you advice, but he certainly handed out a lot of second, third, fourth, and fifth chances. I saw it firsthand, a little bit with myself as well. But he and I know he gave second chances out, because at times he would tell me about people he gave second chances to that I didn't even realize there was any question of them not being with the team, or other coaches didn't want them on the team. So, I think that's an important thing, as I kind of ramble on here, of just giving people a second chance on the team.
All right. And Chuck.
I just would enjoy the position that you have. You have a lot of talented, very bright athletes that you take care of day in, day out. And they probably all come from different places and have different thoughts, and they're all trying to get the same thing done. It was a great experience with the other teammates, and no one was the same. Everybody was their own individual, and that's part of the sport. So I think I'd enjoy that. And, I can see that you've been really successful, and obviously, what you're doing. So to give any more advice than just enjoy your situation, I don't think I could do any more than that.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. Brett, give me some advice. I don't know if I'll listen to it, but you give it to me.
I was waiting for you to call me, Coach. You've been coaching this team for 20 years. I've been on this earth for 21 years. So anything that I think I would suggest would probably just be foolish. And given that we have a year left and you can make that year pretty miserable, I'm gonna plead the fifth and say we're doing a great job.
Smart man.
Darn good advice there, Brett. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all that I have here. We really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and hearing about the stories and the culture of the team back then. And in a ways, there's some similarities between the generations, and that's great to see. I'm really proud of the fact that there's only been 2 head coaches here in 51 years. That's consistency. There's not, you don't see that in today's world of athletics that often. That's pretty good, 51 years, and that's something that I'm really proud of, and really proud of our alumni, the ones that I coached, as well as before my time. I love the history of our program. So, Todd, it's all you.
All right, thanks, Coach. And I'm going to start with what you just said about 2 head coaches in the 50 years and the program. And it echoes back to the comments Mike was making earlier about, Brett, if you ever need help, you just identify yourself as a member of the Spike Shoe program and you're going to get it. And I really feel like the Spike Shoe program, the alumni base, along with the other one that comes to mind, and Coach, you'll appreciate this as well. Men's lacrosse has had 2 head coaches for about the same amount of time, 50 years. And those 2 alumni groups are really strong, really interconnected, and they really support the program and come back and support the current student athletes. So, Coach, I'm glad you mentioned that. Brett, I want to thank you for taking the time tonight to join the program and be with us. Appreciate all your comments, and hopefully you got some advice you can take to your teammates and share with them. Wish you the best of luck this weekend at Virginia and with the rest of your season. So thank you again.
Thank you very, very much for having me. Thank you all for your advice and wise words. And I apologize again for the miscommunication there. But again, this was very valued, and I enjoyed it. I always love getting to hear about the past traditions and generations of the team. So this was really great. So thank you, guys.
I just like to say to Brett in closing, one last piece of advice. Kick tail when you're on the track, and enjoy your last year and a half or whatever it is, even though these are difficult times. But that's it. Like, this is, as good as it gets. And so, take time to enjoy it, because each one of us will attest to that. Right, Ray?
Actually, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, there we go. So that's it.
Couldn't agree with you more.
No hesitation from Ray on that one. All right.
Well,
Thank you.
by the way, any of them, anybody. But thank you very much.
And I want to thank the alums for getting on tonight. I appreciate you guys all taking the time out. The 80s obviously is a decade near and dear to me, as I'm in Ray's class of 88. So appreciate what you did as members of the Spike Shoot program while you were at Bucknell. And more importantly, appreciate what you do for the program since you've graduated. We could not have a program with 85 student athletes the way we do without the support we get from our alumni. So thank you for that. And then for those of you who tuned in tonight at home to watch, we thank you for doing so, and go Bison.